And to actually dive a bit deeper into the universities and the sustainability aspects at our universities we have the honor to have with us here today the rector of Hanken School of Economics, Karen Spens. Karen, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Ronnie?
I'm good. It's been an exciting day. It's Nordic Day, so I've been extremely happy, and it's been fun hosting here, meeting people now, unfortunately, to the pandemic online. But I think I have already learned a lot and been inspired, and looking forward to be inspired even further. So, Karen, after this, the floor will be yours, and I will be back in the end with a couple of questions if the time allows. So the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thanks a lot, Ronnie. And thanks for inviting me, ladies and gentlemen. So dear friends of the Nordics, I'm truly honored and actually really inspired to have been asked to also talk about Nordic universities and sustainability. So I'm the rector of Hanken School of Economics here in Helsinki in Finland. And I thought I would take you into the context of a business school to discuss social responsibility and sustainability, mainly, of course, through my lenses and eyes here at Hanken. So first, I thought maybe I should start a bit about the history of Hanken School of Economics. Hanken was in fact founded in 1909, and by that, Hanken is actually one of the oldest business schools in the Nordic countries, if not the oldest, in fact, competing with Stockholm School of Economics of being the first one to have been founded. Up until 2006, we were actually called in English the Swedish School of Economics and Business Administration. And you can imagine the confusion about that when we are actually have tried to be very international in our approach. So we decided to actually a bit later on start using a nickname that actually Hanken students call us. So it comes from Svenska Handelshögskolan Hanken. So in 2006, we decided to be called Hanken School of Economics. Now, Hanken is nowadays, in fact, the only standalone university-level business school in Finland. We have approximately 2,500 students, and our strategy, in fact, includes them profiling the school as a genuinely international and research-oriented business school with really close ties to the corporate world. And internationalization has actually been for a long time on our radar, on our agenda. And we are still, in fact, so far, the only university in Finland to have even a mandatory study abroad period for our bachelor students. But I think that there's even something more important that characterizes Hanken nowadays. And I would say that in addition to being research-oriented and being international, the fact that we have already 2 decades ago started teaching sustainability and corporate responsibility is something that really characterizes us today. At the time when we started teaching and doing research into these themes, it was definitely not mainstream. In fact, I think I can well argue that we and me, as a representative of the subject teaching it at that time, were found to be part of something that was supposedly a fad and something that would not be noted anymore in a few years. So, but in fact, we can say that this was not the case, rather the opposite. Interest in the fact or in the subject and in the fact, the way our students embrace this thinking nowadays has changed enormously. And definitely even also how our board thinks about these issues. At Hanken, I would say that one of the main driving things and driving this integration into the way our thinking has been, the way our thinking has been integrated, is that we never really wanted to just see sustainability as one course or a course in a subject. Instead, we thought that this actually needs to run through everything that we do. And by that, we have been able to nowadays integrate sustainability and responsibility in teaching, research, and in fact, I would say in everything that we do. A good example is actually of this development is seen in our recently revised strategy, the so-called Hanken 2030 strategy, where sustainability and responsibility are not only part of the strategy, but actually at the core of what we do. So today, I think I'm really happy to say that social responsibility and sustainability are really foundational elements of the strategic framework that we have presented here. So these themes are explicit across Hanken's mission, vision, and sub-strategies. And in addition, what I think is really truly important is that social responsibility and the way we work together in collaboration with the rectorate and the leadership, we are really growing on implementing sustainability together here at Hanken. I would say that even this can be also seen in our strategy figure, where the mission and Hanken's mission nowadays in our new 2030 strategy is actually to create new knowledge and educate responsible professionals for the global economy and changing society through, in fact, integrating then ethics, responsibility, and sustainability in all our activities. In fact, I would say our Nordic heritage also shows in the fact that what we have said is that we value the Nordic, or we emphasize the Nordic values. And in our case, we emphasize equality, openness, and integrity. And as a Nordic business school, and as I said, part of our heritage, we think that openness should be an evident value. And what it means in the case of a university or a business school means focusing on, for example, open science and transparency. We also think at Hanken that by actually sharing effective Nordic solutions to challenges relating to the environment, the climate, and welfare and equality, we do help and will help in ensuring that the SDGs or the SDG targets are met. And last but not least, I would like to emphasize integrity, being honest, and showing a consistency and adhering to the strong moral and ethical principles and values that should be part of what we teach our future Nordic leaders. So as said earlier, Hanken was in fact one of the first universities to think about or have been working on responsibility and sustainability issues for a long, long time. And we were the first university in Finland to sign the so-called PRIME, or Principles of Responsible Management Education, already in April 2008. PRIME is a platform actually which then aims to raise the profile of sustainability in schools around the world. And it has become now, with over 800 signatories, the largest organized relationship between the UN and management-related higher education institutions. And through signing these PRIME principles, or the PRIME, we have a commitment to integrate both social responsibility and sustainable development goals across our education, research, and partnerships. In addition to actually then being a signatory, Hanken is also part of the PRIME Champions Group, which is a select global group of higher education institutions that undertake, amongst other things, innovative projects related to integration of SDGs, for example, in business schools. In the Champions Group, we also have other Nordic business schools and universities joining us. For example, the Copenhagen Business School in Denmark, the Gothenburg School of Business and Economics and Law, the Kristiansund University, and Stockholm School of Economics in Sweden, whom we actually cooperate a lot with, and thereby showing and being examples of how to include sustainability in the curriculum, as well as actually increasing the focus on jointly taking on the sustainability theme. As said in the beginning, there are a few issues that have been kind of the drivers or even the sliding stars of our way of doing things at Hanken. I think that we do need, and as I said, the strategic framework is needed in order to set the stage for committing ourselves to issues of sustainability. Nevertheless, involvement in network activities and projects is designed at Hanken to be bottom-up. So combined with strategic institutional commitment, we have a top-down and bottom-up implementation of sustainability at Hanken. And thereby, we think that this is the way to involve the most actors and people as possible in our journey. In terms of our networks, we've recently become members of the Climate Leadership Coalition, which I think is really important in terms of working jointly with our corporate partners. In addition, we've committed to the Climate University, and through that also committed to providing additional courses on sustainability issues. And we've also joined the national setting or the working group led by the Finnish Rectors Council, the UNIFI, to enhance the university's sustainability work. The group brings actually together the 14 universities in Finland and also the National Union of University Students in Finland to define the university's shared principles and objectives and forms of operation for the promotion of sustainable development and responsibility. On the international arena, we have joined the Global Business School Network recently, which actually promotes the access to high quality education in the developing world. In that network, we recently held or hosted a global challenge in humanitarian or disaster logistics for students. Humanitarian logistics is probably something which you would not think of immediately that places at a business school, or a business school would be focusing on that. But in these times of the pandemic, I actually don't think anyone will ask me the question, which I was asked several times when we started the Institute of Humanitarian Logistics over 10 years ago. So why are you doing this in Finland? You don't have any disasters. But in terms of the institutional context, we have taken at Hanken sustainability and responsibility actually to the forefront and see it as one of the cornerstones in what we do. And this can actually be seen in all levels of teaching that we do at Hanken, from the bachelor's level to the PhD level. There's also a minor that you can do, in fact, both on the bachelor's and the master's level. And we have many, many courses in all different subjects, even in finance, in fact, focusing on the theme. All in all, 45 courses are available on the themes for Hanken students. But as I said in the beginning, our approach has not been just to think about the courses or one course being offered. Instead, overall, the approach towards sustainability, also in teaching, is more geared towards integration. And so, in fact, many more courses and many more core courses teach sustainability and about the SDGs than the 45 just previously mentioned. In addition to actually focusing then on internally courses, providing courses, nowadays we've hooked up, for example, with the Future Learn platform and have several initiatives ongoing. For example, the courses, the MOOCs, the massive open online courses, organizing for the Sustainable Development Goals and Introduction to Humanitarian Logistics. So in fact, for those that want to actually study forward, you don't need to be a student at Hanken to learn about these things. And we do, in fact, have a lot of students joining us, over 3,000, for example, in the humanitarian logistics course now. So you don't need to be a Hanken student to, in fact, study these issues. If you are interested, you can join up within the Future Learn platform. But now, so as we've seen, teaching at Hanken is heavily integrates the themes of responsibility and sustainability. But we also have to remember that Hanken is a research-oriented university, which means that we do focus on teaching, which is heavily rooted then in research. So Hanken has already now 3 times in a row had an international panel evaluating our research. And the last time this was done was in 2018. And then 4 new areas of strength were appointed. Responsible organizing, leading people for growth and well-being, and financial management, accounting, and governance. So 3 out of these 4 centers, in fact, are related to sustainability. I also mentioned already earlier one of our competence centers, the Humanitarian Logistics Research Institute. But there are also other centers at Hanken that are related to the theme. For example, the Center for Corporate Responsibility, the Institute for Gender, Organization, Diversity, Equality, and Social Sustainability in Transnational Times, the Goddess Institute, the IPR University, and Hanken Center for Accounting, Finance, and Governance. All of these institutes, I would say, rely heavily on cooperation. And this is again where we can see, in fact, the Nordic cooperation as an essential part of the work that we have been doing. For example, the Homolog Institute actually started out by being a Nordic network of researchers interested in disaster logistics. The CCR group is also heavily involved in the Nordic chapter of Prime, with, for example, Nordic courses on the PhD level. So if we, in fact, a bit look at what has been done on the research side still, I think we're really proud of the fact that Hanken has featured in Financial Times top 100 research with social impact in 2020. We actually had 3 of our recent publications ranked in the top 30 of this FT Business School research with social impact list. In terms of thinking about how we reach out, one of the things that we also launched now was at the start of the pandemic, we launched the Ask a Hanken Expert. And you might have maybe come across some of our professors, and especially then one of our professors from the Humanitarian Logistics Institute talking about vaccine logistics. In addition, we've done podcasts. I think podcasts are the name of the game today. So we've started a conversational podcast called Sustainability Unwrapped, in which science meets practice to discuss sustainability. And we've also had a summer podcast in which we decided to include our experts who can talk about important issues related to the COVID pandemic. So what about the results? What do the numbers say about Hanken having focused on sustainability? I'm really happy about these results. These are numbers from the time period between 2018 and 2020. And we can see that we have 42 master's theses and even 8 doctoral theses that do relate to the theme during this time period. And as I said in the beginning, one of the things that we do value are the Nordic values of openness. So I'm really happy about the result also, that we can see that we have 368 open access publication during this time period. So in line with what we do and what we do want to publish in open access journals, having events is also one important part of us having a societal impact. So during 19 and 20, we actually organized 43 different kinds of events were organized on sustainability or related to the SDGs. We've also started now in 2019 to have a Sustainable Development Goals Week, during which we've, both in 2019 and 2020, we've organized over 10 events. And we've actually have even art exhibitions related to the SDGs during these events. But then thinking about the final component, the organizational sustainability, I would in fact like to highlight that in line with our Nordic values, and if we then look at organizational sustainability, the value of equality is really highlighted through the fact that we do have a gender equality, an equal treatment plan. I'm also really proud to say that as the 3rd female rector in a row, that the Hanken's rectorate, board, and the management team have already achieved good diversity ratios. Overall, Hanken does really strive for a gender balance to 40 to 60% in all groups of employees by 2023, and we'll definitely do our best also to reach that goal. I would also like to comment on how and what we've done in terms of well-being. As for me, I think that this has really been one of my focus areas in these difficult times. In addition to us having an action plan for occupational safety, an anti-harassment policy, an early support model, we just actually recently appointed a well-being committee that uses our own experts in the field to think about the well-being of our faculty and developing ways of reaching out. We also recently did a survey to all of our students in which over 1,000 students actually, or 1,000 students out of 2,500 responded. So all in all, Hanken students, I would say, are doing pretty well. They do complete their studies, but at the same time, we do see that a lot of them are really suffering and feel lonely and unmotivated. So in terms of this, we've put a lot of effort in and resources, in fact, from our side. For example, having a study coach and even a therapist working with us for the sake of our students. But we've also worked a lot with the student union on getting students to have a network, which seemingly is really important. So the student union has, in fact, so-called support students that are helping out in this difficult situation. And in my view, this is actually really what it is all about being a Nordic university. We do take responsibility and we do act in accordance to our beliefs. We also just recently launched a challenge for all students and faculty called the Rector's 112 Challenge. You might note that 112 is actually the common emergency telephone number in Finland, but at the same time, it also signals the fact that Hanken is turning 112 years this year. And the challenge is one now of having each and everyone reach out to someone that they do not, in fact, know that well. And I look forward to hearing in April how this challenge actually went. So finally, in terms of goals then for sustainability and our work towards a green and more sustainable campus, Hanken is now, in fact, a climate action signatory and has committed to be carbon neutral by 2030. We also decided to compensate for our calculated 2019 emissions using gold standard certified projects. And we've installed solar panels on the roof, and we do have responsible investment integrated in our asset management. And the latest addition is the appointment of a climate task force just now in March. But lastly, I would like to conclude, in fact, by coming back to the issue of what I said in the beginning about things having changed during the last decades in terms of how Hanken has changed, but also how students and their thinking has changed, not only at Hanken, but at the Nordic business schools. When many of you think of business schools, the first thing that maybe comes to mind is about the hard values that we are teaching and the finance sharks on Wall Street. I would then just briefly like to tell you about the latest survey, one of the latest surveys done in Finland of the values of business graduates. This was done in 2019. Interestingly enough, only 15% of those answering could be put in a group of having the typical or maybe even stereotypical hard values of competition and self-pursuit. So in fact, 85% engage in and put environment, climate, and equality in focus. So I think that with this in mind, we have focused on the right things at Hanken, and we do see that our Nordic values are not only our own, but they actually convey a mindset of the typical business graduate of today. So in summary, I would say that we are really proud to be a Nordic business school promoting Nordic values, as well as other business schools and universities in the Nordic countries. But I think we should also be in the forefront of working on sustainability, which I really think that many of us are already. I truly hope that this is who we want to be, and also in the future, and that Nordic cooperation will continue to be at the core of what we do. So thank you for listening, and thank you, Ronnie.
Thank you so much, Karen. I think this presentation was just amazing. And even for a Hanken alumni as myself, or soon to be Hanken alumni, I found many things here that I found extremely interesting. For example, the fact that Hanken seems to be extremely green in its core, which I find extremely beautiful. So one of the questions I would like to put out to you there, Karen, is that how do you think that we could take this green core of Hanken and transmit it to schools abroad and to other universities all around the world? How is Hanken doing it now, and how could we improve that even further in the future?
I think I'll take you back to the presentation, in fact, there, Ronnie. And one of the prime things that we have been doing is prime, because that's actually the way how business schools work nowadays towards actually showing off that they focus on sustainability. And through Hanken being, in fact, one of the champions, there's only 40 champion schools out of the 800 signatories. I think that this is really our way to reaching out. Another thing I really see that works well is the GPSN network. So I think that networking is the key here. And even more so, I think that the Nordic countries really working together on this can actually show an even higher impact together. So my suggestion is the Nordic countries work on this together, and then we are truly showing an example.
Amazing. I agree totally. And then to come to the end of this session, I want to ask you the question I've been asking from each speaker this far. So what is your favorite thing about the Nordics?
Well, yeah, I would actually, I listened to Christina Hafos this morning, and I think she said one thing that actually really concurs very much with what I like about the Nordics is the Nordic model, of course, in terms of thinking about education, because it provides an opportunity for everybody, regardless of background, to actually be educated and have the opportunity to do that, which I think is really part of something who we are here in the Nordic countries. In addition, I actually heard somebody saying here also that they love the Nordic light. Well, I do love my summer house again. So being at the summer house, and especially during these difficult times, brings me a lot of happiness.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Karen, for taking the time to join us today. Thank you for sharing a bit of the insight about the Nordic universities and especially the sustainability part. We will now continue with our program with a short break before we let our Minister of Nordic Cooperation and Equality, Thomas Blomqvist, join us for a short remark. So thank you, Karen. See you all in a couple of minutes.
Thank you.